Hello, my name is Jason Ling, and for my capstone project, I chose the topic of the Cold War. Just by a show of hands, who here knows about the Cold War? Well, you may know of it, but hopefully after my presentation, you will learn more. Back on the focus, the Cold War was a period of geopolitical tension between the Soviet Union and its satellite states, the Eastern Bloc, and the United States with its allies, the Western Bloc, after World War II. The Soviet Union is a union republic which incorporated different countries that formed a greater and stronger country. Communism and capitalism played an important part in the Cold War. Capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. And communism is a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading into a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. Because America feared the expansion of communism, something called the Red Scare was starting to stir in the U.S. in 1917, 30 years before the Cold War had even started. The Red Scare was basically a name to explain how the U.S. was scared of the Soviet Union's spread of its communist ideology. Soon after, it became clear that there were spies who posed threats in both U.S. and Soviet Union security. The two main spy agencies were the KGB and the CIA. So basically, the CIA stands for the Central Intelligence Agency, and the KGB stands for the Committee for State Security. The Central Intelligence Agency was for exploring international relations and solving crimes around the world. It was established because of the attack of Pearl Harbor, which startled the United States. The KGB was established for intelligence gathering, border security, and propaganda enforcement, just like the CIA. More than 500,000 people were employed in the KGB. The CIA had employed a total of 22,000 people. This is a major component to why the Cold War was called the Cold War. While wanting to learn more about this war, I was interested in its positive and negative impacts on the world. One major negative effect was the amount of money spent by both sides and the people who died. Now, you might be thinking, if it is a Cold War, how did people die? But the answer to this is the result of the proxy wars, like the Korean War. It started in 1950. It was fought because of the idea of communism and democracy, again. It started because the Soviet Union infiltrated places beyond the 38th parallel, which is basically a separation line for North and South Korea. Eventually, the conflict ended in 1953 with a win to the UN. 5 million people died in total, and in total, $30 billion were spent. Similarly, another negative effect would be the financial side of it. The world has spent already $5.5 trillion on military arms, which a large percentage spent on nuclear weapons. But even worse, most of those nuclear weapons weren't even used, just used as a component of threats. As I said before, the arms were never put into use. But why did they make so many weapons? This was because something called the Red Arms Race. For say, the blue person on the left over here is the Soviet Union, and the orange guy on the right is America. Because America has a more advanced weapon than the Soviet Union, in this case, America holds a pistol and the Soviet Union holds a nightstick. The Soviet Union would compete against the more advanced weapon and manipulate it. This keeps going on and on and on forever, and the budget goes up and up and up. But as you see here, no bullets were ammo were fired, so this is also a main component to why it is called the Cold War. As with any war, there are no really clear positive impacts, but with this war, the major one was that a nuclear war never happened. That would have been a catastrophe. In a matter of fact, Earth would be bombed into a flat surface. I wouldn't be standing here presenting my speech. Anyways, in my opinion, I think that the Cold War was not necessary based on the positive and negative effects. This is because I think that it had led to nothing. It had nothing to do with us, as in the citizens. It primarily had to do with the government. Although some might argue that it revolved around communism and communism is bad, it is still not our problem that communism is happening. This thing could be argued on and on forever, but for the sake of time, we will stop debating right now. But nevertheless, the U.S. has succeeded and at least minimized the amount of the communist countries. For more information, please visit my blog or scan this QR code. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.